Hello everyone, this is Lori from Grammy's Keepsakes, and let's start embellishing some of our pages. Let's sew on some of our embroidered stitched fabric pieces and put some buttons on and some pockets, and I made some little button clusters with layers of cotton fabric and lace, and let's have some fun. So I'm going to stitch the little ruffles on both sides of the quick sew pattern piece. And let's get the power turned on. Oh, let's get the machine plugged in. I lost power earlier today, and so I unplugged everything. And there we go, we're in business. So let's go ahead and stitch on some pretties. And this is one of our little layered ribbons that we did. So I'm just going to place it on the edge and just kind of straight stitch down. And if it ends up wonky, all the better. As long as we hit the paper. Oh, we made it. We're pretty close there for a little bit, but we got it. And then let's just go ahead and trim the fabric off at the end of the pages. And then these little ends are what we can use to sew on our little card or tag tabs. So let's stitch another one to this side. And I'm stitching right down the embroidery. Here we got a nice end to put lots of tag tops. Okay, and then let's stick a button hanging on here. And I've already gone through my button jars, and I just picked out some fun big ones and just some fun ones with shanks. And I have a button pin that looks like this, and that is a button pin, and it's to hold the shank, the buttons on, so that you can take the buttons off when you're doing the laundering or dry cleaning. And how you put these on is from the back side. Go ahead and go through your fabric, grab the shank, come back through the fabric, close her up, and twist it around so that that bump goes for the fabric. Just like that. And so because a lot of these fancy buttons, they don't go through the laundry, and the chemicals and dry cleaning don't work with them. So then let's put our page back in. And here I've got a little, one of our little printed tickets on muslin. And I've got the ticket is printed on coffee dyed or tea dyed muslin, and then I have a layer of heat and bond, and then I'll have another layer of cotton muslin again, and then I just use the pinking shears around it. And I thought we could use it for a tab. So let's stitch this on. And put it down. Yep, I'm going to make a box all the way around it. There, I just stitched all the way around the little rectangle, and this particular page is a piece of tearaway and some heat and bond and a pattern. So it gives the pattern nice durability, so it makes for a nice page, and then you can write on both sides. And then here I've got one of my little button clusters, and let's have that sticking over a little bit too, and see if I can get that stitched on without getting the button in the way. And I'm just making a random box around that too. There, so we've got two more little tabs, and we can hang some buttons on them. And besides all these little ones with shanks, I've also got some others that I picked out that we can play with, and some bulb pins. So we'll just, I have no idea what color I'm looking for, but I guess it doesn't matter. Let's use a green one. And then I'm just going to pin it up into our fabric tag. And then we've got a little button hanging on there. And we can do the same thing with this one. And then now we've got a little button. And they can be moved around. And I have some gridded vellum that is used for tool making, tool design, and some coffee dyed graph paper. And here's our little plastic pouch, and I put a little round button on a little bulb pin on the zipper pull. And so on this side, let's go ahead and stitch on this little cluster. And then these little tags that we made that I put the buttonholes in, I just attached it to one of the buttons. Just buttoned it right on. And they're removable. So if you don't like it, you can take it off. And this one says scissors. So let's see if I can get some of this stitched. A lot of buttons in there, so. And I don't want that caught. That would defeat the purpose of having it removable. Don't want too much sticking out. Can't make a box around this. I got buttons in the way. But that works. Clip my threads. And here I've got a little pocket index card that's Kool-Aid dyed, and then I just stitched on bias tape and top stitched around the top and the bottom. So let's go ahead and glue that in. Use the art glitter glue. Or you know, before I do that, let's attach a button to it. Let's use one of the little shank buttons and grab that fabric in there. There, so that'll hang off the edge. Now it's easier to get to it before I glue it in. Now let's glue it. If I can hang on to it. And just press that down. This could be stitched too, but I think glue will work. Then we can stick a piece of ephemera in it. Here I've got a little statement, and then I just stamped a sewing machine on it. So it can be used for a journaling card. Just stick that right in there. And here in this center I've got a sewing book from the 1920s. It's got some interesting tips and guides in there. Here I've got another little tab. Let's stitch that on. This is going to get kind of complicated getting it in that little space, but we can do it. Paper bends. And then we can hang on another cute little button. Should we go for the little bow? The bow is cute. Hard to jam that pin in that heat and bond. Got it. And then over here on this side, I've got another little fabric pocket with a little banner at the top, and then I just stitched a piece of coffee dyed paper to the back of it to give it some stability. And I think, well, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on it, and then I think I'm going to sew this one on. So there we have another little pocket. Let's grab a tag, and so that works. And this piece of coffee dyed paper, I folded it up because it was 8.5 by 11, and so I cut it to be the, I believe it's 10.5 or 10.25, and then I by the 7 inches, so I just flipped up the 1.5 inches. So we've got a shallow little pocket here. And here we've got our little ball button. And we've got this little cluster already with our button. Pages get a little heavy. And let's do the second signature. Let's go ahead and sew on our trim again. It was fun playing with all those little stitches. Trim off our little bit of fabric. And then we can, let's put a purple button on it. No, let's put a pearl on it. Here I've got an old, and this definitely is an old vintage button. Well, kind of a fun little dangly thing. And here on this side we need another one. So let's go ahead and sew this one on. And the wonkier the better. And oh, okay, I made it. I was going to say, and if I missed, there's always glue. And then we need another button, don't we? Let's do a little pink one. And then we can always rearrange the buttons when we get it all put together. so that they're not in the same place. Because this is going to go in a traveler's notebook and it's going to have that elastic closure around the center, I don't want any of the tabs or any of the clusters to be in the way of this, or it will just ruin our decoration. So I'm making sure that it's kind of in the top third and the bottom third, leaving the middle third alone. So that's my rhyme and reason for the placement. Here we've got another little ticket. And let's sew that on. And these tickets were printed at a 4x6 size to make them nice and manageable. And then we'll attach a little button on that too. Grab another bulb pin. And let's put a pretty pink one on this one. Oh, that square one. And then here we have another little cluster, and here the back stitch, and I buttoned it onto this orange button. And this pattern piece is for a skirt. I'm making sure I don't get my little word flag caught in the machine. And that, our rectangle ended up a little on the curvy side there to get around those buttons. But it's on. And then after it's put together, we can determine if we want a button on that or not. Here I've got another one on this fabric. This is the one that we put the bias tape on and the decorative leaf stitch. And I clipped a button onto this one already. And for this side, let's just put this cluster on. And we've got another, and this word tag is, the button is sewn onto it, so this one is not removable. Get my fabric not tangled up. Okay, that works. Let's put some more pages in. Oh, here I've got another little pocket. And this one I've got some piping stitched to the top of this index card. And let's attach a button onto this one too. That green is kind of funky. These are pretty grayed and yellowed colors. How about that blue one? Well, let's go with the little white one. I'll have to dig out a different button box. And then I'm just gonna pin that into the trim. And then we can go ahead and glue it on. And press it into place. And here we've got another little ticket up here at the top. And here we've got another fabric pocket. Okay, let's put, here's a little blue button. Let's put that on this little ticket. Tiny little, looks like a little dolly button. Trying to make sure that Fabri-Tac is dry before, so that in case I hit it with the sewing machine, it'll gum up your needle. Sure, I've got a lot of crazy colors going on here, don't I? But that's what makes it fun. And here I have an envelope that I made that we're going to put in the center of this signature. The first signature had that plastic pocket, so this one is getting the envelope. And this paper is printed from Artzology's Grandma's Sewing Basket. It's one of the background papers in that digital kit. And so that's what this is. And then I just cut it to be 8 1/8 square and did my envelope. And on the back I printed a graph paper design. So that's going to set in the center. And here we've got a little ticket with a button and a pocket. And here's another shallow pocket. Yep. And here we have a fabric button cluster. And another ruffle. So that is stitching of the little tabs and ruffles into our journal. Now we're ready to stitch in signatures. And this is going to be a traveler's notebook so that it can be placed in the elastic. So we're going to just go ahead and stitch it together just this. So I'm going to get these, contain those before there's an accident waiting to happen, because it gets like that around me. And pick up my paper clips. And let's do it. Let's find the thread. And I used a wax cording. And I have a crewel needle. And I like a crewel needle because the eye is large enough and the point is blunt. And I'm going to go ahead and measure 3 times. So that's how much cord I'm going to use. And just tie it on. Okay, then we got to get it all put together. Making sure everything is going to be seated in there. And the pages, for the most part, are all equal. I'm going to clip the top of the envelope shut though, so we don't bend that out of shape. Use some binder clips. Well, that's not real helpful. Maybe that one's not real helpful either. Well, we'll just have to hold the envelope. Okay, and I'm going to do a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. And so what I need to do is get a little pattern going on. So I need a piece of paper. And this paper will work. I just need to cut it down to 7 inches. Well, it's kind of big. It's overkill. Well, it'll work. We'll do it. Cut it to 7. I'm going to fold it in half, lengthwise. So I have my lengthwise, and now I'm going to fold it in the middle this way. And let's put a little, I'm not sure if I'm on frame or not, so let me try to do it up here. So here's that. And then what I want to do, I grab a ruler. Let's fold that back. I am going to fold down the top. And open it back up. and that intersection from the vertical fold and the horizontal fold, make a little mark, and here again, and now we need one in the middle of these. So how I get that is go ahead and fold the paper again and meet it to the middle. And mark my intersection and do the same thing here. Bring the dots to meet. Crease it and put my dot. Okay, and then always want to write top. Pick one side to be a top. It doesn't matter which one. And this is my top. So we're going to go ahead and clip this in. Now we need to make sure that it is seated into the center. All that, I got so many fabric layers going on in there and interfacing and everything else. It's a little puffy. So now I'm going to take a pokey tool and let's punch our holes. Go for the dots. And remove our pattern, keeping our clips in place. Now we're going to find our needle. Here we go. And I'm going to go down the center. And I'm going to take a binder clip and hold on to that because I tend to pull it right on through the hole. Now we're going to come up the next hole and down. Now we're going to come back into this hole again, making sure that you don't stab into the thread, the cord from before. I'm going to skip the center. I'm going to come down to this one. And then to this hole. And then back down this one, making sure we don't stab that cord. And now I'm going to go in the center to bring it back. And the threads came out on the same side, so I want to bring one over to the other side. Don't need the needle anymore. Now I need to make sure that my cords are taut before I tie. So I'm going to pull on them. So I'm going to hold one. Okay, it's this one. And make sure there's any of the tension. I get it pulled through. And check it on the other side. Make sure that nothing is loose. and tie a double knot. And with the wax cording, I just like to burnish it down because it squashes the knot. And this is going to go in our envelope, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off the cords. We're going to fold that up. Let's glue it down. And bring it over. And now we have a working envelope. And I'm going to go ahead and clip that shut for now. And here we've got all our craziness buttons going on. So we can add more buttons. That index card wanted to come up. It didn't glue all the way. It's good now. So I think I want a button on this one. Let's stick this black ball button on it. And then what it's going to do is and these are still long because I don't know if I need to tighten them or not yet. So what we're going to do on here, we need to determine whether we want the envelope to be on this side or this side of the signature. And then we're going to pop it right in. And it's going to go like that. And now we need to do the other one. So we have the front one. So the same thing, making sure all of our pieces are seated. Feels pretty good. And our top, we're going to clip it. And the pokey tool. And measure out our, oh, we got to take off our pattern. We don't want to forget and leave that in there and have that stitched in. And measure this 3 times again. And going for the center. And clip our cord again. Okay, and here's where you have to be careful. Make sure you're not going to catch that other cord. It needs to come in next to it. And I'm going to skip the center and I'm going to go right to that one. And now I'm going to come down this one and not hit that other cord. Now go right up the center. And I think that having a blunt needle helps with that too, so that you don't get the other thread. Okay, and we need to have one on each side of this main cord. Get rid of the needle. We're checking for tautness again, and I think it can be tightened up. So let's go ahead and tighten what we can. Hold on to them. Much better. I like the signatures to be nice and tight. And one more knot. We don't need the clips anymore. And then here we got the front. So these can be, with it being a traveler's notebook, I tend to like it short rather than long with a charm or buttons or anything, because they can get tangled up with that elastic. So I like them a little short for that. And let's go ahead and put it in our book. That big old button. Okay. And you can always take the buttons away. They don't need to stay there. Pretty chunky little journal, isn't it? And then we can take a quick look through. The button's good. Got a button there. I don't know if that we really need one right here on this one because this one is so close to it. Might be okay to ignore it. We've got one right here, the little blue one. And here we got a bow, the little ball. Have a little beige one there. Let's go ahead and put one on here. I've got 3 down here and 3 up here. It's screaming purple. Let's go purple. Oh. Well, this is one of those curved button needles. Let's remove that and put a bulb pin on instead. And then here we've our bottom. Oh, we've got a pink one on it. And before I clip the cords of this, I'm going to play with it for a while and make sure that they're nice and snug, but not too snug, and then adjust the knot as needed. But there we go. We've got all kinds of little fun going on. That little ball button's going to cause trouble, I think. There, we'll have it coming out of the top. And then we'll put our cord on, our closure. And so in here in the front pocket, we've got a little file folder notebook with our playing cards. And in the inside, we've got our full pattern envelope with our journaling card. Those were fun to make. And in the back pocket, I've got some ephemera, a little note booklet with some sewing information. And you can just use it for journaling if you'd like. And another couple pieces of ephemera that we can just stick in pockets throughout. This one is a stain removal chart, And here we've got a shopping reference. I know we've got a pocket here somewhere. And we've got a pocket here that we need to put in somewhere too. And then I've got more of these too, so we can put in lots more pockets. Or I might just use it, put them in the little goodie envelopes for the user to put them wherever they'd like. And we've got our other little tags that we need to sew tabs on and get those in here. And then in the back, okay, we looked at that one. And then in the back pocket, I made a signature tag where I embroidered my name, pattern and paper on cardstock and another pattern, and just stitched all the way around it and stuck that in there. So that's what they look like so far. I want to thank you for watching, and we'll play again tomorrow and finish them up. Have a great day.